All right, team. I'm going to take you through the document, the worksheet I have for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference in the citation model between a footnote and a bibliographic note. It's a little bit different. I know I've kind of talked about this in the past. I'll give you more information on that. And then, mechanically, I'll show you how to insert a footnote on a Google Doc. If you like to work with Word, you can stick around afterwards and I'll show you how to do it with Word. But I'm a Word person, but I feel like I'm kind of kicking against the goats here. I'm living in a Google world and I'm kind of trying to adjust here. All right, let's get moving, team. Excuse me. Oops. You cannot minimize while you're recording. All right. Learn that. All right. Let's go to, oh, I hear our birds. How is that possible? I thought I shut that down. All right. Okay. Quoting, paraphrasing and summarizing activity. This is worth more points than a normal activity. I will give you opportunities to revise if you do make mistakes. I'll indicate where those are at so you can, iron this out and learn how to do this properly before you have to actually apply this in the paper. So up to this point, for homework for today, I asked you to find, actually, I think I said 50 to 75. Historically, I've made the quote a little bit bigger. Sorry about that. I did not adjust this. I think I said 50 to 75 word quote that you would have just a segment of text you would have pulled out from the source that you read for today. And this just gives you an opportunity to have a large body of text to play with as we do this activity. It really can be any part of your text. It doesn't have to be a particularly insightful or interesting part of the text. We just need a big block of words to play with here. Okay, so to begin, take that quote and just copy and paste it here so you have it on this page. For the first activity, for the first part here, there are three questions, three boxes. All these constitute questions. And I ask you to format a portion of your quote in the following styles. So this is a lead-in with a comma. So for instance, I'm reading a book by Richard White right now. So a way that you would lead in a comma, for instance, could be according to Richard White, right? And this is, I think, a way that we're all familiar with. You have what's called a dependent clause. This isn't an independent clause because according to Richard White, you wouldn't call this a complete sentence, right? This is a dependent clause. It relies upon something else to follow. Henry, did you have a question, bud? I see a raised hand feature.
Yeah, I was just wondering, where do we find this?
It's on Schoology.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll take you through where that is exactly, but again, the Google Drive is not connecting to my assignments. Sometimes I can make an assignment, sometimes I can't, so I apologize there. But and so according to Richard White, comma, and if I just pull something out of this book I'm reading, you might say Cascades and Dulles were the most dangerous parts of the Columbia River. All right, I'm just abbreviating this. Obviously, you would write this out if this was your own, but just giving you a sense of format. According to Richard White, the Cascades and Dulles were, and at this point, and this is a tricky part, you would go to insert footnote, okay? Once you are at the conclusion of your quote. Oops, I didn't put it in the right spot. I don't know where that put that, but let's try it again. Insert footnote. Okay, apparently I put it up there somewhere. That's actually, let's get rid of number one. will see that that converts that to a number one. Okay, as you insert footnotes, make sure you use that function. I have seen students try to like insert an exponent, and then in order to create this down here, they'll draw a line and they'll do another like little exponent. It is a hot mess. Don't do that. Just use your insert footnote function. Word has a tab here that's references. So you would click references and then insert footnote. Make sure you are inserting footnotes, not footers. All right. The footer would be something that is at the bottom of the page. But you want the little number and that. Okay. So what do we see with this quote? Again, inserting with a comma, you have a dependent clause, you have a comma, a space, and then you introduce with the quotes. Here you would end with a period. I'm going to butcher it, or just so you have sense. Period, close quote, and footnote. That's the order. Okay. Next one is leading in with a colon. Instead of using a dependent clause, you're using an independent clause. So this is something that you would actually call a sentence on its own. So you could say the Columbia is, or maybe you can say Richard White, discusses the danger of, right? So here, this is the colon. We're introducing with a colon. And what you see in this antecedent here is that this actually functions like a complete sentence, right? So if this is complete, you use the colon. If it's a dependent clause, incomplete, you use the comma. Sometimes you see really short things. Even though it's complete, it can be short, right? So Richard White notes. That's actually a complete sentence, okay? It's small. You might be inclined to do that. And stylistically, you might see some editors that allow you to do that. But in this case, we're going with the hard and fast rules of dependent, comma, independent, colon. Okay. All right. So that's these two right here. Are there any questions up to this point as I just keep moving through here? I realize this isn't, the most glamorous part of history, but it's something important that we have to talk about.
I have a question. We're supposed to be doing this with our own quote, or should we just write down notes of what you're doing?
Yeah, you should be doing this with your own quote, not necessarily right now. I'll give you an opportunity to work on that. And also, you don't have to take notes either, because I'm actually recording this session, so you can kind of review it. If you felt like you wanted to write notes, you're totally welcome to do that, but not a requirement.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay.
Wait, was our quote supposed to be text from the reading, or like someone actually saying something?
It's actually, yeah, in your reading, it could just be anything that someone said. So if I pull up this Inca piece, you might just take that. I don't know how many words that is, but you might just take that. Does that make sense? It can really be anything. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time.
Okay, I'm just making sure it doesn't have to be like something someone has said before. Or
I have flagged that ad so many times.
that's a very weird ad.
Like, they promote themselves as a source for secondary education. You see that kind of business, whatever. All right. I flagged it again. We'll just monitor that. All right. Okay. Fusing quotes. Or other questions real quick before we move again? Okay. Fusing quotes is, it's just a word or a phrase. These generally come somewhere in the middle of a sentence. So for instance, I could say Richard White identifies rivers as organic machines. Oops, and I should be consistent with my. So,
Your mic got really quiet for that, and it's still kind of quiet.
oh, thank you. I apologize. Let me rehearse that again. But fusing quotes is when you like have a word or a phrase that you really kind of like, and you don't want there to be any loss of meaning. So for instance, if you want to indicate that Richard White calls rivers organic machines, this is what would be called a fusion quote. And you wouldn't put the citation here, you would put it at the end of the sentence, not after the quote in this case, all right? Oops, where are we at? There, okay. So that's a fusion. If you like how someone used the word, right? If you like something that someone said. Organic machine is kind of a cool thing because he kind of trademarks that. All right. So for these three that I just did, I only ask that you use part of that big massive quote, okay? You only need part of it. And as you can tell with this last thing, you only need like a word or two, a couple words. Just use part of the quotes. I asked you to get a big, long quote because I want you to practice also formatting a block quote, okay? So with a block quote, you can actually, depending on if you use a dependent clause or an independent clause, you'll introduce the block quote with either a comma or a colon. So for this one, you might just even say, Richard White notes. All right, oops, that should not be like that. And with a block quote, you're going to want to format it properly. Oops, somehow the tab might give you a problem here. Maybe just give me, how many spaces are in the tab? I feel like 7. Does Siri know how many spaces are in a tab? Siri knows nothing. Yeah. I'm getting 14 hidden features on my iOS 14. Okay. We'll say 7. And the river is awesome. All right, ... So what's going to happen with a block quote is it's single spaced, not double spaced, because when you write traditional analytical expository essays in secondary school, your teachers are asking you to double space your essay. In Chicago style, you do not double space the block quote. You should maintain your tab line here. So it's a straight vertical line, and there are no quotes. There's nothing like that. You don't use that. And you don't need to use that because this peculiar indentation will actually show you that this is a quote itself. And at the end of the quote, once again, you got to do your insert footnote. Okay, you need to footnote that once again. For all of these, I ask that you do the insert footnote function. You don't have to keep rewriting your footnote and reformatting it, or if you wanted to copy and paste, you could. It will be the same one each time. But I just want to see that you know where that footnote goes. So make sure you're putting all those in. And that's a block quote. Again, no quotation marks. That's important information. Maintain the, so if I'm just writing stuff, this has to once again, oops, this has to once again be, oh, come on. Because I gave you boxes, it's doing something very clunky here. But there's a hack. Okay, white text. All right, we have a straight line. Try to avoid the white text hack, but it's a hack. Sorry about that. I think in my attempt to make things clear and give you boxes to put things in, I think maybe it did something funky with the format and using the tab. Okay, what's a summary? So a summary, don't use the quotation marks. You don't use the quotation mark. Nevertheless, you still need to cite it because it's not your information, it's someone else's information. So with the summary, I would ask you to try to get down that quote to just a single sentence. Try to bring it down. I'm not having you write a paraphrase. Historically, I've done paraphrases with this assignment. Honestly, paraphrases are, one, difficult to execute, but the main reason is when you're using evidence in a paper, you're usually not paraphrasing information, you're summarizing it. You're getting to the main point of the article. So, spaces. All right. It's one of the points that Richard White will note here. So again, this isn't a quote. Nevertheless, you need to insert the footnote once again. All right. And there you have it. So introduce with or copy and paste your quote, introduce with a comma, introduce with a colon, find a word or short phrase that you can fuse. Block quote, no quotation marks, single spaced, maintain your indent line, and then a summary. Make this one sentence. What is the point of the text? Okay, so there we have that so far. Questions about those?
For our quote, is it just from the reading, like a paragraph from that, basically?
Yep, it's basically just a paragraph or a part of a paragraph from the source that you read for today. And I encourage you to use that source because it actually gives you some help. There it is again. Some feedback. Where is it? Because this source will actually give you a nice starting point. It gives you the Chicago style citation. So you can try to copy and paste this, but I encourage you to make sure they're formatted properly once you do that. So you can see how it's all messed up. Just make sure that you're using, it's all black, you know, it doesn't look like a copy and paste. You want to take that down to black. Use the same font as your text for that. So clean it up a bit. You don't want like a Frankenstein looking bibliography with all sorts of different copies and pastes. Is not a good one. Okay, so this is the bibliographic reference. This is not how you cite a footnote. So if I were to make this a footnote, for instance, again, we'd have to redo the whole copy and paste stuff. Let's also bring this down to 10 point. This is how you do a footnote. It is Mark Cartwright, not Cartwright Mark, all right? And it is separated by commas. It is not separated by periods. I know, it's so irritating. And this is what happens because this is a comma. You no longer have a big L, you have a little L. Last modified. And then you have a comma here. You still have the period at the end. So we have actually converted this into a successful footnote. It doesn't take a whole lot of reworking, just a little bit.
Would you also change the like Inca civilization word to like just a normal word, not just a link?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you would just basically delete that and rewrite that word.
I would probably hold it and go like this. So go here. I think that looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
I think it might still be there, but you can't see it. I don't.
A way to get rid of it is you just rewrite Inca civilization, like physically, like delete it and then rewrite that.
Yeah, you could do that as well. I clicked on this and there was Also a little link thing there that you can kind of delink. But yeah, you can, I'm definitely a proponent of writing things out rather than copy and paste, even though I kind of did that here. Because sometimes copy and paste can just really open up a Pandora's box. Okay. So those were the modifications. So that looks like a footnote. This looks like a bib reference. The source I give you gives you the bib reference. So you got to kind of modify it a bit. Sometimes, and this isn't the problem with this source, you don't know when it was last modified. So sometimes instead of saying last modified, you can say last accessed, because you always know when you accessed it. Like, so if I did this for today, it would be last accessed March 15th, 2021. And that's what I would put in here. So if you're missing this information, that's how you do that. Okay, let me stop share. I gave you a whole lot of information and I really want to provide time for you to be able to work on this. So other questions? If you do want to stick around and chat, ask questions, please do so. But this is on Schoology. I've checked and double checked and triple checked. You should be able to access the Google Doc without any problems. That's sort of my MO, not giving you access. So I think you should be in good shape there as well. But otherwise, you're free to cruise and do this. I will stick around and field any questions that you have.
Where will this recording be?
I will convert this recording right now and I will put it up on YouTube with everything.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you, Adam.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
See ya.